And we're going to take you to our correspondent in Jerusalem in just a moment for those exit poll numbers. But first, I have here at the big table with me Gil Murciano. He is a Middle East analyst with the German Institute for International and Security Affairs here in Berlin. Gil, it's good to see you again. So, we're waiting for these first exit numbers, but what has this vote been about today? What were Israeli voters, what were they asking themselves when they would go into those little booths and make a decision?
Right. More than ever, I think, this election is different from the previous ones. When Israelis went to vote for Gantz on one hand or Netanyahu, it was really about Gantz and Netanyahu as individual leaders. It was mainly about the individual vote of trust in this case. Quite paradoxically, when you look at these two candidates, there's very little difference when it comes to positions on issues such as foreign policy, on issues such as national security. You see very little difference. Mm-hmm. It's mainly about the integrity of the office, the main rallying call, the main right of existence of the opposition to Netanyahu.
That's what Gantz wants people to think about, right? Indeed. Because Netanyahu is facing indictments for corruption. But what is Netanyahu, what is he countering with?
Right. I think Netanyahu is focusing on branding himself as an irreplaceable, indispensable leader on that level, on the level of statecraft, on the level of foreign policy. And I think he emphasized the idea that he's the only leader in Israel who's able to pitch on the international stage and come back with achievements and results. That's why you've seen a direct effort in the last couple of weeks, a mobilization by a number of his international allies. Mm-hmm. Maybe the highest point, the Trump administration endorsement or recognition of the Israeli annexation of the Golan Heights.
Golan Heights, that's
Indeed.
Correct.
And the idea is really to define him as a leader of a different caliber, a leader amongst world leaders, basically, different than the unexperienced, as you mentioned, Gantz.
Okay, Gil, thank you very much. We want to go now to Jerusalem. Our correspondent, Tanya Kramer, is standing by. Tanya, it's good to see you. So we understand that those exit poll numbers are coming out. Do you have any numbers for us?
Yes, that's right. It's a very traumatic evening. Everybody was waiting for those exit polls here the whole day. So we have two of the TV programs here. Channel 12 gave us exit poll numbers accordingly. So Likud, 33 seats. It's according to seats of the 120 Knesset seats. Blue and White, Gantz Party, 37, so he's up. Labour Party, 6, and the smaller parties, some of them have apparently not made it over this threshold, and some of them are about around 5 to 6 seats. You have to look at them a bit closer later on. Now, the Channel 12, the other program here, gave the exit polls for Blue and White. It's 36 seats, equal to the Likud, also 36 seats.
Okay, so what we're looking at then is Blue and White with a slight edge, but we want to remind our viewers, and Tanya, you've seen this with every election, these exit polls are notoriously not accurate, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. It's like even the polls before the elections, you can't really rely on them. And we really have to wait and see now over the next hours. Then the results will trickle in, and that could change a lot. Of course, what's happening now here is everybody's now doing the mathematics and seeing what does it mean. But, it's not just about the two bigger parties, Blue and White and Likud. It's also what happens to the smaller parties, and what are the blocks. So Channel 12 gave the blocks that they are almost equal. The other channel, it's a slight advantage for the Likud. So we have to wait and see. These are exit polls. Yeah, you have to stress that.
Yeah, that's important to remember. It's also important to remember that the election is not just any election. There's also the coalition building that comes after the election. And if we're looking at a situation where Blue and White and Likud actually come out fairly even, will it make these smaller parties, will they become maybe the kingmakers then in maybe deciding who can build a governing coalition?
Absolutely, and that's what we have to look at tonight, and especially certain parties. I mean, Pollsters have projected that the right-wing bloc is much stronger, but even if there are already 2 or 3 of those parties might not make it over the threshold, that could be actually very dangerous for Likud, especially when you look at some of the numbers that the Likud, according to one of the exit polls, is actually has a much lower number than Blue and White. So we have to really look at those smaller parties and see how they could actually build this coalition.
And Tanya, we're also getting news now that the challenger in this campaign, in this election, Mr. Gantz, he has declared victory in this election. Tell me, what do you make of that? I mean, that's an early call of victory, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a bit of an early call. I mean, definitely Blue and White has done much better. I mean, they have been leading the polls, but I think it's a bit of an early call. But I think this also just steps up the pressure. I think we have to wait and see whether those exit polls actually then correspond to the actual numbers. But I mean, if that's true, I mean, one of the Channel 12 gave us the number 37 to 33. That's quite already a good call for Blue and White. But I think it's a bit early.
Okay, and Gil, let me just ask you, before we run out of time, how do you read that, the fact that we've got Gantz declaring a victory?
Well, first of all, it's a question of momentum. I mean, as Tanya mentioned, it's not just about the actual blocks. I mean, the definition is that in the end, the president gives his endorsement, the Israeli president, to the candidate with the best chance to assemble a government. And those are 2 different criteria that we have to check today. The issue of blocks, but also the issue of the popular vote. This is a unique type of elections, a vote of trust on the individual level. And I've never seen such a difference between 2 major polls, those TV polls. One gives 4 mandates of difference, one just 1. Yeah. If we take the first one as a reliable one, that might allow Gantz to claim a public legitimacy, to challenge, even if he can't really assemble the right bloc at the moment, he can actually use it for the momentum.
All right, well, in any case, it looks like we're in for a long evening. Gil Murciano, thank you very much. Tanya Kramer in Jerusalem, thank you. We will be back with you later in the evening.